70 parking spaces. That's it. That's what took 3 planning applications, 1 2-day appeal hearing, 2 inspector site visits, and 3 years of paperwork to secure. Not a housing estate, not a factory, a gravel field. And the man fighting for it is one of the most recognizable broadcasters in the country, on land millions watch every year on television. Here's what nobody tells you about Jeremy Clarkson's farm. The real battle was never the cows or the restaurant or the shop everyone talks about. It was parking. And the reason that sounds absurd is exactly why it's worth understanding. Diddley Squat sits inside the Cotswolds area of outstanding natural beauty. That designation puts tougher restrictions on this land than almost any farm in England. Every fence post, every gravel patch, every request clears a higher bar than almost anywhere else. So when the crowds arrived, by the thousand, there was nowhere for their cars to go except the narrow road outside his front door. That's where this starts. In 2021, Clarkson applied for planning permission to open a restaurant near the farm shop. Refused. Most owners would have walked away. He didn't. In August 2022, he opened it anyway, inside a converted barn called Lowland Barn, using permitted development rights, a legal route any landowner can use to bring a disused agricultural building back into use. He wasn't hiding it. He confirmed it himself, in writing, afterward. 12 days later, the council served an enforcement notice. The restaurant closed within a month. Think about what that cost. In Clarkson's own words, he'd had to sell most of the cattle he'd bought for a beef-based menu and go back to chemicals he'd been trying to move away from. He said he no longer wished to open a restaurant, a diversification project built to support British farming, gone in weeks. Any farmer would recognize that feeling instantly. You build something honest, something that helps the local economy, and the system treats it like a threat. By January 2023, Clarkson wrote to the council to make his position clear. They didn't wish to expand the on-site businesses further, he said. They were happy with what they had. Contrary to some claims, he didn't want to turn Diddley Squat into Disneyland. It's where he lives. But they really did need on-site parking. Read that closely. He isn't asking for an empire. He's asking to stop his visitors clogging up a country lane outside his own front door. When the enforcement notice against the restaurant stood anyway, he appealed it, alongside a separate refusal on the car park. Not a contradiction. A man who tried to accept a bad outcome quietly, then once he saw the real cost of walking away, decided his livelihood was worth fighting for. The appeal hearing ran 2 days in March 2023. Planning Inspector R.J. Perrins visited the site twice, for a barn and a car park. 2 visits. A formal 2-day hearing. For gravel. On the restaurant, Perrins ruled against Clarkson. 6 weeks to tear it down. In his words, 6 weeks was more than sufficient to restore the land to its condition before the breach. 6 weeks, for a business that employed local people and sold local produce in an industry that can't survive on good weather and subsidy alone. But on the car park, the one thing actually about public safety, Perrins ruled the other way. He approved an extension to the parking area, formalized the temporary arrangements, allowed new access, and even permitted a small carving shed alongside it. Even the inspector who shut the restaurant down could see the parking was never the problem. It was the solution. 3 years from June 2023. That clock runs out around 2026. Here's where it gets strange. This wasn't even Clarkson's first attempt. Back in February 2023, before that ruling landed, there was already an earlier application for temporary parking, 70 cars, 4 rows, on a plot 60 by 32 meters, due to expire January 2025. Then the appeal handed him a different 3-year window, running to 2026. Now, in 2026, he's back again, asking for an extension to 2030. 3 applications, same patch of gravel, same problem Oxfordshire's own Highways Authority has never disputed. A man found a genuine problem. His farm's success was causing a road safety issue, solved it, and has had to re-justify that same solution 3 times in 3 years. And here's the part that should stop you cold. The council has admitted this themselves, twice. In 2023, they acknowledged the planning process shown on the series can seem obstructive. Not might. Can. They insisted they have a legal responsibility to ensure planning laws are followed correctly by everyone, regardless of who they are, and that diddly squat is treated no differently. Fine words. In 2024, they went further and practically admitted the car park battle never needed to happen. They said, in writing, that they encouraged diddly squat to apply for a temporary car park long before the appeal. Read that again. The council is on record saying they told him to sort out parking, he did, and it still took a formal appeal, an inspector, and 2 site visits to get it approved. So ask yourself, if the council knew a car park was right before the appeal even started, why did it take all that to grant something they'd already agreed he needed? The council's language does a lot of work sounding reasonable. They list what they've approved: the lambing shed, a barn, the farm shop, insisting they're pleased local produce is being sold there. Their door, they say, has always been open, and will remain open, should he choose to work with them. Fine words again. But words are cheap when the paper trail shows a business that's fought formally 3 times for the one thing almost everybody, the council included, agrees is necessary. Not everyone in the village agrees, and that deserves saying plainly. One resident, after the restaurant closed, called it a win for the community, said the farm was in the wrong place. A real voice, on the record, that shouldn't be waved away. But set that against everything else on file. Oxfordshire County Council's transport lead, Oliver Eden, put it in writing. The additional parking is an important facility, accommodating parking that would otherwise likely cause disruption and safety concerns on the adjacent highway. An expert authority in writing, confirming Clarkson was right the whole time. Eden went further, recommending the council extend the temporary permission to align with demand tied to the series' filming schedule. County Councillor Liam Walker backed the appeal outright, publicly on the record. Local councils need to understand farming has significantly changed, he said, and planning rules need to change with it to let farmers diversify quickly. Farmers across the country deserve support, not a fringe opinion from a fan. An elected official looking at the same paperwork you're looking at, reaching the same conclusion. Clarkson's own team said much the same in their submission. The site continues to be popular and attracts sufficient customers to warrant additional parking, maintaining benefits to the farm and to local businesses that supply the farm shop and cafe. Not a celebrity making demands. A business owner pointing out that when diddly squat's parking works, other people's livelihoods work with it too. So where does this leave things? The 2030 application still sits with West Oxfordshire District Council, undecided, no date given. But look at what's in front of them. A highways authority that's already said yes, in writing. A business that's been specific about exactly how long it needs and why. A 3-year track record proving the car park does exactly what it was built to do. Keep cars off a country road and keep visitors safe. Meanwhile, Season 6 of Diddly Squat is already in production, filming now, expected to air in 2027. The crowds aren't slowing down. Neither is the need for somewhere to put their cars. There's no real case left against this application. There's just a council that has, by its own written admission, made this harder than it needed to be. If this decision lands the way the evidence points, it won't be a victory handed to a celebrity. It'll simply be West Oxfordshire finally catching up to what everyone else, the Highways Authority, the local councillor, even the council's own past statements, already agreed on months ago. So here's what we want to know. Should we track this decision when it lands, whichever way it goes? Or is there a bigger story underneath, the actual economics of a farm shop that's outgrown the road it sits on? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell us which thread to pull next, and we'll go build it for you.